I have been seeing, and I want to talk about something. The mindset here is I've been seeing a ton of social media engagement from agents that I haven't seen in a while. A ton. Well, it tells me you guys are posting a ton on social media, which is what I would expect, right? New year, new you. How are we going to keep this engagement high? Is this something that's going to burn the rest of the year, or is this a firework you set off right now and it's just big and shiny, but then it's gone? So set a plan for yourself. If you do not know what to post every day, that's okay. You can use AI. There's a ton of resources, Chat GPT, that's free that you can use and ask questions on how to get those things. There are websites like Breakthrough Broker and Uplist. I don't know, some banking thing that you can get social media posts on.
List report, I think is what you're looking for.
Yes, thank you, Jim. List report. It was something list, something uplist, list report, but list report. But they're all very generic, corporate created BS. And do we as consumers, I want you guys to flip over your consumer brain, do we as consumers like corporate made BS? Most of you are going to say no. Because you like real connections, real things, real stuff. So take those informations, those pre-created BS, and turn it real. How do we do that? How did it sound to you? How did it resonate with you? How did you feel about that corporate made BS? It could be a lot of things in here where you're just like, hey, I just saw this on our internal email, and I thought this was a really good piece of information for you guys. Check it out. And you're like, you can pause, read it if you want, and then take it down, and then you tell them what it is. That's how you make corporate BS real. Another thing is, what are we trying to solve right now? Anybody?
Homelessness.
Homelessness. There's one. That's a great cause. We're trying to solve homelessness.
Uncertainty.
Trying to solve uncertainty in the market, right? Let me narrow the question down to help you formulate a little bit more of an idea. What are sellers that need to sell right now, keyword need to sell right now, concerned about?
Another place to buy.
Another place to buy. Problems. Elaborate on problems.
Right.
Interest rates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we got some more ideas, don't we?
Grandma.
Next, what are buyers right now concerned about?
Interest rates.
Interest rate.
Affordability.
There we go. I heard the word affordability. Are people really concerned about the interest rates? What are they concerned about?
Payment.
What was that, Billy?
They're concerned with not going broke.
Okay. Payment, not going broke. I think both those fall into the category of affordability. Affordability, right? Can I afford it? The American way is the debt. I hate to say it, but every one of us on this call probably has debt somewhere. Either it's financial or social, right? Credit cards, mortgages, car notes. It's just the way of the world. Wrong. It's the way of the US people. Did you know in Germany, you don't buy a car until you have the cash to pay for it? Same thing with a house. America is the most leveraged country in the world, which means our people, whether right or wrong, doesn't matter, don't care about total cost. They care about affordability. I'm going to be paying on this for the next 30 years. I must be comfortable paying on it for the next 30 years. So let's stop having conversations about sales price, availability. Let's talk about how easy it is to get this house. You're going to be surprised at how easy it is to afford this house. Some questions around it. Last week, we talked social media hooks a little bit too, didn't we? When we start a story, people listen. And how do you start a story? Let's remember all of our children's books. How do they start?
Once upon a time.
Right? Once upon a time. We're talking the reader, the consumer, once upon a time. And now they're like, oh, what happened in that time? What time? What happened? Where are we at? They're kind of hooked in. I challenge some of you guys today to make some social media posts about story-like things, right? Once upon a time when houses were more affordable, this is what you could do. My son, we went to Phoenix on Saturday. We had a day trip to go do a bunch of errands up in Phoenix. And one of those was to go to Bass Pro Shops because we're up there, might as well. I promised Eric I'd get him a hat. So the whole reason to go up there to buy a $6 hat, it's well worth the time and effort. But here's the thing. We get from my house in Tucson, drive an hour and a half to Phoenix in the morning to get into Bass Pro Shops, and my son forgot his shoes. Yes, my 6-year-old went all morning without realizing he didn't have shoes. And so we went to go inside, and it was all, Bubba, where are your shoes? And he's all, what shoes? And it created this thing. Well, I'm just telling you this is an anchor point in the conversation because, well, being me, a very rational, level-headed, and calm individual, I lost my shit. And I said, how could you remember your tablet and your chargers and your headphones, but forget your damn shoes? And then mom's like, well, we'll just take him inside and buy him some shoes. I'm like, that's not the point. The funny thing here is about maybe 30 or 45 minutes later, my daughter, who's with us, she's 15. She's very snarky and intelligent. Don't know where she got that from. She goes and tells Stone, she goes, hey, remember when you forgot your shoes that one time we went to Bass Pro Shops? And it creates a very funny way of introducing a conversation. So think about these things as how do we start a conversation? Social media, over the phone, in a text message. Are we doing so in a story format? If somebody called me up out of the blue and I hadn't talked to them in a while, and they say, hey, Dan, you remember that one time we went to the bar and that guy jumped off the top railing and broke a table? And I'd be like, dude, that was a crazy night. He's like, yeah, I know, man. That guy just bought a house from me. And you're like, what? Crazy. However, it's a whole lot better than, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to sell a house? Get into the story mindset. Your social media needs to be telling stories to people to help them solve their problems, right? Sellers, you remember a time when houses were flying off the shelf and you couldn't keep them down? Well, I got some great news for you. Reach out to me and let me tell you how I can get your home sold the same way. Do you think that's going to garner some interest? Jason, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, interest rates started to fall and houses became more affordable. You want to listen to the rest of the book? Give me a call. Let's sit down and talk. I want your social media presence to increase, and I want you to continue to do so. I don't want this to be a fart in the wind. I don't want it to go away. I want it to create more and more opportunities for you. Because the name of the game is connections. The more connections, the more interactions, the more engagement, the more business. The people that you're servicing on your social media may not directly, right now, be the ones that buy and sell with you. They might be the referral conduits. They might be the one person that connects you to the buyer or seller that you're looking for. Who remembers our conversation about the 7 degrees to Kevin Bacon? Right? It's about connection. It's connecting you with people that you need to know, who they need to know that need a buyer or seller. And if you are not getting out of your damn house and shaking hands and meeting 5 people a day, you're going to have to create some other way of connections. And I want the social media to continue. I want it to be something you engage with. Share your life, share your hobbies, your passions, create magnetism to you, and talk to people, real people. Not just some corporate BS, not just, I have to post this about real estate to hit my 1 post a week about real estate goal. No. Communicate, educate. People are on social media. Who goes to TikTok to look up something and winds up being on TikTok for 20 minutes because you fell down a rabbit hole of different conspiracy theories? I love how TikTok defines things as whatever it is, talk, right? Gun talk, Barbie talk, hair talk. My wife is a bookworm. You guys, and TikTok has a huge book talk. My feed right now is comedians, realtors, book talk. And all I have to do is I have to go look up something. I'm going to research if someone is shooting this gun or something like that. And now I'll have comedians, book talk, gun talk, maybe realtors. So when you start speaking in a manner that people listen and they like your stories and they get entertained, they get sucked into it. What was it? Saturday night or Friday night? I can't remember which night. I couldn't sleep. So I literally I ran across a bearded butcher on TikTok, and he was carving up a flank steak. And I'm like, oh, okay, I've never seen it done like that. That took me down a 4-hour rabbit hole. I watched this man completely skin and process a bison, a heifer, chickens. I am 100% positive I could completely process my own meat now. That's how confident I am after watching this guy's video. And it's just because I couldn't sleep. I have some sort of, my brain just doesn't shut down. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, babe, we need to get this knife set. And I need a cradle and some hooks. We are set for the apocalypse. But the thing is in the moment, I had no desire to buy the knife, no desire to learn all this stuff. It just caught me by a whim, and he just was interactive. He's like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Check it out. And I got sucked in. It probably wasn't 4 hours, but you know what I mean? I definitely watched an entire video series that I've been there. I grew up on a ranch. I've skinned cattle. I've done this stuff before, but I'm like, oh, okay. Man, that would have been so much easier if I had this machine that he's working with, but I didn't. And I was 12. However, it goes back to the story, and it was very intriguing. Yes, it's boring, and he's like, you cut here, you cut there, you drive. No, he's like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is how you do it. Hey, before you make this mistake, this is where you need to look out for this. And he was giving me roadmaps along the way. Look out for this, look out for that. When you're doing this, turn your knife this way, move your hand this way, tell your brother to go get this thing. Like, it was creating the story like, oh, you know what? I remember being in that same situation. So as realtors and people that bought and sold houses before probably have little traumas that they've overcome. The stress of the unknown, the inspections were a little crazy, maybe all the repairs came back. And so you could tell stories. You could be the same way. You could say, hey, before you guys go into your inspections, just know you're going to find a ton of things with this house that the inspector's going to call wrong. But they're simple fixes. Don't let that deter you from buying a house. If you're creating that same type of environment, are people going to lean in or just see it as some corporate bullshit and back out? So today, if you got an inspection, while you're out there in inspection, showcase some of those things. If you're showing houses today, show, hey, when you're looking at houses, here are 3 things you probably need to look for so that you don't buy a lemon. Or if you're doing something extraordinary because you're a great realtor and you are dropping off milk for your client because they can't get out of the house. Hey, before you select the wrong realtor, get you one that'll deliver milk. And then show the gallon of milk and then walk it to the door. It might be your door. No one needs to know that. But am I resonating with you on how you can take what you're already doing and solving problems through story? You're creating something that you can use long term. And the mindset around that is, how do I keep this new year energy to all year execution? Intentions are not going to get you paid. On Friday, Thursday and Friday, one of my goals is to reach out to my past clients every year, and I update the address book. I make sure that I have the right address for them, because I send them out cards. I send them out thank you New Year's cards. And sometimes I get a gift certificate for food. Sometimes I get a gift certificate for coffee. Sometimes I get a sticker. I don't know, whatever I have to give away. But it's in that day. I spend about 5 hours doing it. And I go through about 108 different contacts. And I'm just like, hey, how's life? What's going on? You guys still living off of Main Street? What's new? What's happening up north? And so many of them are excited to communicate and connect. And it's great to just check in on people. What's new in your life? And it's not about I'm selling houses and I'm the greatest person in the world. It's me reaching out to them so I can continue the story of their life in my eyes. One of my sellers stole my yard sign. She took my yard sign when she moved. And she's like, this is my gift from you. And for the last 3 years, she sent me random pictures of me, my yard sign, and her fiance going on adventures. They strapped me in the backseat of the Razor. They put me next to their trailer when they're out camping. I'm hanging up currently in the shop right now. But my text to her was, hey, you better be taking me on some real fun adventures this year. Hope you're doing well. And she's like, oh, no, currently you're hanging up in the shop, but we'll get around to it. I just finished nursing school, which created another conversation thread. Before you make some generic, boring corporate response like, Happy New Year, how are you? Remember the stories you have with these people. And if you don't have those stories, create them. I was at Bass Pro Shops and I found some Crocs. The first time I've ever seen Crocs in my size. And I put them on and I made videos like, guys, I don't know if I'm going to do this. I'm about to make a life-changing decision. A few of you saw that video. It got a ton of engagement. People in 5 different states that I know of engaged in that post, and we're just starting to have conversations because it was creating a conversation. And one of them texted me out of the blue. Her name's Dawn. She's like, Dan, do not buy Crocs. You are not ready for this. But it started a conversation. I was like, well, Dawn, I may not be ready for Crocs, but I appreciate you telling me that. Thank you for always looking out for me. How's life? What's got going on? How are the boys? And I probably haven't talked to Dawn in 9 months. But the connections we make must be real. And I think it's funny that Anthony's team is called The Real Connection, which I think is great. The Real Connection. But when you're doing so, your stories matter. You're telling stories. You're showcasing things.
Dude, we got
Go ahead,
the
Jake.
Crocs. Did you get the Crocs or not, dude? We got to
No,
know.
God, no. He was hung on the fact, did you get Crocs or not? No,
Yeah, but
He wasn't ready for him.
wasn't. I'll be honest with you. I tried 4 different stores we were at, and they had Crocs, and I put them on, and 4 different times I just couldn't do it. And I'm like, this just isn't right for me. I feel goofy as hell.
Good.
It's not that I care about what I look like. It's just that I care what people think what I look like. And I'm just not ready for Crocs, man.
Cowboy
I'm
boots
not.
then with the actual spurs.
I saw those too, the Croc boots. But you know what? I'm a goofy dude, and that's close enough to goofy for me. But create that. Create those stories. Liza's been doing a great job. She's showcasing her house and live and process there. I remodeled a house back in COVID, and I did a bunch of live videos as I was doing the updates in the house. And it was like a daily update or a weekly update of what's happening, what's going on. This is what I've done. This is where I'm at. And people tuned in for it. We love stories. We love stories. We love stories.
I actually just got somebody in Texas and California calling me and saying, so what are you doing to this house? Because I'm looking in Arizona.
And if she would have just posted, hey, this is a new listing we got, 123 Main Street, call me if you're interested, nobody's going to call you. But here's something crazy. Put a swimming suit in your realtor bag. And if you got a listing with a pool, ask the seller, is it okay if I jump in your pool for a video?
I didn't have a swimsuit. I just jumped in with my work clothes and did a cannonball in
There you
October.
go. There's one. But you're creating some things, right? Hey guys, the best thing about, like, do the walk through the house, and you say the best thing about this, and you jump in, and most of your phones are waterproof. I'm telling you this now. Jump in the pool with your phone. It's crazy. Hey guys, this pool is awesome. You got to see it for yourself. Give me a call. I'll show you. Do something different. Remember this: facts tell, stories sell. Facts tell, stories sell. We are not in the business of telling people what to do. We are in the business of helping them make decisions, persuading them into a better existence by selecting the service that you offer. If they're looking to buy or sell, what does it do for them? And if you cannot answer that question before you ever meet them, you will not create a strong enough relationship to continue the conversation. If we're trying to solve affordability, have conversations and stories around affordability. Dude, you got to hear this story. I just put a guy under contract. The seller gave us $10,000 in closing costs. We were able to buy down his rate, and he's got a lower rate now than you can get 2 years ago, right? And people are like, how did you do that? Man, this place is so affordable. He was renting a house for $2,200 a month. We got him to buy one. Little money out of pocket. He pays less a month now than he was when he was renting. Isn't that crazy? Would you listen to the rest of that story? Hey, I had a seller of mine that had to move out of state because of work, and they were worried about putting their house on the market. I was able to find an investor for them. They didn't have to fix or clean up anything. You should see how bad this house is. Come check it out. Would you listen to the rest of that story? If you would, so would your clients, and so would your potential clients. Remember that you are a consumer. if you don't resonate with the sentence you're making, or if you don't resonate with the story you're selling, probably no one else will either. Because if you don't believe your bullshit,
Nobody else will.
nobody else will. Oftentimes I have to tell my kids, are you trying to sell me or sell yourself? There is a big opportunity that is right here, right now, and it requires you to be a better storyteller. So what are you trying to solve? What solution are you providing out there? And turn it into a story. Put it on social media, do your live videos, have fun with it. Let people in. Be real. Did you learn something today?
Spitting facts, as always.
Spitting I'm just spitting fire, baby. It's almost like I spend hours a day figuring out what to talk to you guys about in the morning. You want to know the truth? It all comes from the heart. You got to remember, you are a consumer, and this shit matters to you. It'll matter to someone else. Big high five.